All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Azul video. Um, Today we are just going to play some games. I asked in the Discord what videos people find most helpful and like if there are specific topics folks would like to see. And a couple things came up. One was like round 5 gameplay, another was like when to give up row 1 or 2. So I don't have anything pre-prepared for those topics, but if any of those situations come up today, we'll try to talk through them. But yeah, if you're a viewer who isn't in the Discord, I've made a lot of videos at this point, and I think what I want to what I'm curious about is like what people feel like they need to get themselves unstuck. So, if you're someone who's still climbing steadily and haven't like plateaued anywhere, then that's awesome. But if you're someone who has trouble getting past 550, or you're in the 600s but you can't quite break the barrier to 700, those are the types of kind of situations I'm curious about. Like if there's anything specific about your gameplay that you think is isn't working out, or that's kind of what I'm looking for. So if you have any thoughts on that, feel free to leave something in the comments or message me. And of course, it doesn't have to be like 500 or 600s. If you're stuck in the 300s or the 400s, that works too. So let's see what we find today. I do want to try to get some higher level games in, just because I think ultimately they're more valuable. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. This draw is pretty varied. Leaning yellow and black. It's kind of interesting. I don't really love any of these like groupings, but okay, I'm just gonna play kind of what I like to play, which is column 2. So I'm gonna take the 2 blacks on row 4. You can definitely make an argument for having taken like the 1 yellow there and getting row 3 yellow locked up, but this just felt like I didn't love any of the options. So okay, so this is interesting because our opponent's basically just committing to the leftmost column. We can make a play to disrupt yellows, or we can try to stop some of these reds. I think I like getting in on the red. So let's just take a red for row 5. The reason I didn't go after yellows is because I can take them later really easily. Like if I had taken the 1 yellow to commit to row 3, then most likely I end up giving him these reds. But like here, for example, I can take the 2 yellow, and I'm fine there. So now we're playing a game of dancing around these blues. Neither of us wants to give the other row 3 blue. So I'm obviously going to take from the center here. I think I'll take the black and give him a choice of, if they want to defend it, then they give me row 3 blue. Obviously, they're going to get their reds now, but I'm okay with that for the road 3 trade, and we'll take the yellow. Okay, and this is a bit of a lucky draw for us. Get to just take these 3 yellows and prevent our opponent from getting row 5. But actually, it's kind of an interesting question, because taking the 3 yellows means that I don't get my whites. Now there's 13 whites remaining, so I think it's okay, but I'm going to really try to get the first player tile so that next round I have control of whites. And yeah, this is a great situation. Let's grab the 2 blue here. We have a lot of options for filling in this black, so I don't feel like I need to take the black, whereas if I don't take the 2 blue, there's a chance our opponent can get row 3 blue. Okay, and now we're going to take the black, and then here we're just looking at the end of round scenario, basically. And we're actually going to end up giving our opponent the 4 white, but we really can't afford to take it. So, and note that we kind of have to play the red up here, because if we played on row 5 and our opponent takes 2 blue, then we have to take the whites. So this way we get a nice adjacency in our upper rows, and we still had to take a decent chunk of negatives, but okay, we're up by 1. I think I'm playing kind of fast, so I'm going to try to slow down a bit. Okay, so I mean, the thing that we need to be careful for the rest of this game is reds. We still need 6 of them. So that's something to watch for. In this round, I think we can jump straight on white. It's something that our opponent could feasibly build with good adjacency, so I don't want to kind of dilly-dally on it. This is an interesting play. So this is something where I would like, I'm not going to say it's a mistake necessarily, but you know, like, what am I going to do with the 3 blacks? They're pretty non-ideal for me, so I don't see a reason to do this right now. And it kind of just like clogs your board a bit. It makes you vulnerable to things. Like, I can group these 2 blacks together and you know, create some problems there. That being said, I think I'm just going to take a black for row 1 and get the first player tile. Again, like, the first player tile is important to me because there's only 10 of these reds left, because I need 6 of the remaining 10 reds. Okay. My row 2 is kind of dubious. I'm going to try to sneak the reds into row 2. And I'm going to give my opponent this group of 3 yellows with the plan of disrupting doesn't really work as well as I wanted. Okay, I think I can safely take 2 blue here, which leaves them with 3 blue for their row 2. And then I can grab grab the reds that I need. So let's do this. Let's play row 4 blue. Yep. Okay, and then we'll grab the reds. So like, nothing bad happened by taking these blacks for our opponent, but and there were 3 points, but I couldn't really play them that well. Like, it may have been better for our opponent to try to leave me with those. Okay, so we're up by 6. Our column is kind of in danger. There's going to be 7 reds coming out next round. But what else do we know? So we basically need row 2 black. There's only 1 black left. So that's going to be high priority. And in terms of like what to defend on our opponent's board, there's not really much there. So I think I'll start with the red just to make sure that even if I don't get the first player tile, that next round I'll be in okay shape. And here I think I will pay the price to pick up these blues. The reason being that they are playable for my opponent on row 3, and there's only 2 remaining, so they won't be able to get that. And then also the first player tile is going to be pretty important next round. For me at least, just I need to make sure that I get those reds. Okay, and yeah, we can safely play these blacks because there's 4 colors in the middle, and the 5th one's not on the last remaining factory. So the thing that we would have to watch out for is getting stuck with these yellows, but that's basically an impossibility. And it's apparent that our opponent is not tracking tiles. So they're looking at full color black, but they don't know that there's only 1 remaining. So I'm going to go ahead and just snatch this black away, and then I'll play whichever of blue or white they leave for me. If there were fewer whites, that decision would have potentially been harder. But because there's 6 left, I'm not worried about picking up these 3, especially since my opponent can really only play 1. Okay, so we're up by 4. So this is not going to be a complicated round 5. I mentioned round 5 was one of the topics that someone asked about, but you want to look at like how can you score and how can they score, which sounds obvious, but like I immediately see they can score with yellows, I can score with whites. Obviously I need my red. And so then you just start to look for like overlap between those things. So I can take my red and put their yellows in the middle and force them to take a negative. So that is just inherently strong for me. And again, I can debating whether it's worth taking these yellows because there's so many options for me on white. They can't really stop anything. So yeah, let's just take these yellows actually. We can play them on row 4. Actually, we'll just let our opponent have them. I think it's better to just play it safe, like with a 4-point lead and knowing that they have to pay this price. And again, like we're going to end up in this 4 colors in the middle situation, so I'm going to be able to dump 5 reds on them. So this will work out swimmingly. Yeah, I think this just works. So in addition to identifying where everyone can score, you also want to identify what people cannot play and how you can potentially give your opponent negatives. So, at some point in the round, I was thinking about red as a row 3 option, but it's very easy to pivot to just giving them as negatives. Anyway, yeah, so round 5, like you want to identify your scoring opportunities, their scoring opportunities. And then particularly if the game is close, a lot of times it can be swung by whoever takes more negatives. And so opportunities to dump a large number of negatives on your opponent. Okay, so we'll look for another one. I think that game, just honestly kind of fell into our hands a bit. One of the things I would highlight, okay, we'll play Striped Leopard again. One of the things I would highlight is the decisions on when to take the first player tile. So because reds were scarce and because I made the decision in round 2 to take those 3 yellows and thus needed the 3 whites, there were a lot of cases of prioritizing the first player tile. So that would be one of the key things from that game. Okay, so this is tough, right? Because I can't defend the reds without giving him row 2 black. So something I've been doing in these situations where I don't feel like I have other good options is just taking, like if I can build the center column easily, then I'll just go for that because being centralized is always good. So when there's not other options, sometimes, just centralizing is strong. And here I'm definitely going to take these blacks so that my opponent can't make progress on the row 4. Okay. So now things get a little interesting, right? Because I want these whites, but I also want to finish my row 3 and I need a row 2. So what I'm going to do is take the yellows for row 2, and if my opponent groups the 3 whites, I'll take those instead of finishing my row 3. So I will let my row 3 go to just make better overall progress on my column. See, now this is a tricky situation for them. I don't know that they can actually do that play. Yeah. If they wanted to do that, they'd basically have to play the white on row 1. Yep. Okay, so here, yeah, I'll finish the row 3. Okay. And I'll take the offset column construction and block my opponent's row 4 instead of taking the straight column construction. Okay, so even before the tiles come out, and again, we get maybe a lucky draw, but even before the tiles come out, you can plan for this round ahead of time, right? Like the most contested commodity is white. I want it for row 4. My opponent wants it for row 3. And black is a contested commodity also, but like I would rather finish my row 4 first before finishing my row 5. So even before seeing the tiles, you can start to build these ideas of what you want to look for. And obviously seeing the tiles, like we're going to instantly take the whites. Okay. So There's some interesting ideas here. Our opponent can't play an adjacent row 2. Sorry for this. I have something in my throat. Our opponent can't play an adjacent row 2. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I'm debating how much I want the first player tile. I think it's not that critical in this situation. I don't really want to group reds up because I might want them. So, okay, let's just take the first player tile. I like to think when all other things are equal, it's better to have it. But obviously, we've seen from like the NHOS gameplay that that's not always true. Okay, and clearly I've made a mistake here because I did not closely look at my own row 2. And now I am out of row 2 options other than to try to get whites together, which is not good. So let's not do that. I don't want to take from any of the factories because then, I could take, yeah. I think I'm just going to take the black and see what they do and try to not get stuck with a bunch of these yellows. Okay, so this is a number of yellows that I'm comfortable getting stuck with because I can play them on row 3. Or my opponent will take them. Okay. Let's grab the blue. For row 2, and then we'll also grab the white on row 3. And clearly the 2 red was a mistake. I did not look at that round closely enough. Okay. So let's try to not make more mistakes. Okay. So I'm thinking about trying to get these whites into the center. I'm not worrying about defending yellow. My opponent could have nah, it's not really doable. I don't want to let the blacks get grouped up. So let's just start with the blacks that puts a white in the center. I think my opponent will try to avoid grouping the whites. But we'll see if we can make it happen. Okay, so now I think we have options for our blue. So I think we can take 1 yellow and force our opponent to overpay on their row 5. And we can play everything on row 4. So we're not really concerned about negatives here. Okay, so we need to be careful because our opponent's setting up like a second column threat. I think what I'd like to do is like I don't want to take these reds because then I am vulnerable on row 4. So I want to bait them into making a commitment. So for now, we'll just take the blue. Okay, so, oh, they play them on row 3. Okay, so that's fine. I think... Yeah, I'm just going to take the white. I can't really stop anything they're doing, so I'm going to let them pick something, and then I will respond accordingly. One option would be to like take 2 yellows and throw them away to force their hand on the other set of yellows, and then I take a red and throw it away, and they have to play those blues, which isn't bad, but actually creates another column threat. So what's best here? Might just be to like take a red, or take one of these and throw it away. I'll take the red. So we're seeing if we can dig ourselves out of the hole we left. Okay, so now the question is, do I want to... So I could take 2 yellows, I could play them, and give them this blue. And then they'd have a column threat with 5 white and another column threat here. It would get messy for them, but I don't really think I want to do that. But I also don't necessarily want to commit to anything myself. But you know what? Let's let's play these blues. It feels gross. But from a negatives perspective, we're doing okay. Our opponent's ending up with more. And our point scoring might even be slightly better this round. Okay, so we're up by 3. And tricky draw. We only have one. Okay, so we get the first player tile, or we take away 3 blue. I think I'm okay just taking the first player tile and giving my opponent this 3 blue. If I can prevent my opponent from building a column, they don't take the 3 blue anyway, then I'm going to consider that a win. Okay, let's get rid of the blues. I don't want my opponent to get the reds, but I also can't play them. Or I can't take one really, so let's take the white, and if our opponent groups the reds, we might have to take them and forego a row 1, but then we can't end the game next round. Oh, we're already foregoing a row 1, so we're fine there. Okay, we'll take the reds. Be interesting to see what they do here. All right, so we're definitely in big trouble. I don't think we're going to be able to get out of this, but we will try. Okay, so we're down by 9, but we have a column and they don't. So we are actually only down by 2. How can they make a column? They can get 4 whites, but they also need to get 1 yellow. 3 whites, but it's going to cost them 4. But they also need to get 1 yellow. They could also get a column with 5 blues. And then, of course, the reds. So the problem is that the whites and the yellows are completely separate. So the only way for me to stop them is to go straight for the whites. So that's what I'll do. And we will see how this plays out. Okay, so they play 4 blue. So note, I can't end the game, so that's not a factor here. I can't stop my opponent from ending the game, so there's no reason to take a yellow, so I should just take the highest scoring tile for myself. And it's basically on my opponent to do the math as to whether this makes sense. And I don't think it will, actually. I think I'm going to come out... Let's see. Yeah, so we take a yellow. They have to take the 3 black to prevent me from scoring with them. And then I take a blue. Always remember to check this. Like, just because you can play reds doesn't mean you should take the reds. My 1 negative is worth less than their 3 negative. Okay, so let's see if we won. I haven't done the math. Nope. Column's not going to make up for it. Okay, so yeah, the round 2 misplay really hurt there. Just overlooked my my row 2 options. Okay, so we'll go for 3rd. These games have been relatively quick, so might even get 4 games in. Probably a lot of mistakes in that game. I think I should be spending a little more time on these plays. But certainly the 2 red was overlooked by me. Not a lot of players tonight, I guess. Okay, I'll check arena. See whichever comes first. Okay. Pretty interesting run out, actually. If my opponent starts 3 black on row 5, then I'll probably take the other 2 for row 4. If they start like 3 black on row 3, then we'll see. Okay, yeah, so we'll go with this plan. Okay, yeah, obviously not something I would recommend. We will try to keep this situation clogged, so if they group the 2 blues together, then I'll take them. Whenever your opponent does this, that is to say has like a 4th and 5th row misaligned, you just want to keep it that way for as long as possible. And that's generally a safe path to victory. Sometimes it involves taking quite a bit of negatives, but the effects of like not clearing out a mismatched row 4 and 5 are just really really impactful. Okay, so here I kind of want to maximize what I can take, so I'm not going to group anything and give myself fewer turns. I actually want to get as much of the red and white as possible. So I'll take from the center. If I had taken like 2 reds from the middle, then I only get 1 more play, which is how it's going to work out anyway, but at least there was a chance. Okay. Not the best draw for us. So your eyes should immediately go towards like what happens if I take a black and they take a black. The problem is that there's these other single blues. So even though taking these 2 blacks groups 3 blues in the middle, you know, if I wanted to follow up and put another blue in the middle, like they still have an option. So I don't see a reason to start with black here. I might make a kind of weird play, which is to take 2 yellow and put them on row 1. And the logic here is that my opponent would have been able to score on row 3 yellow. They want row 2 yellow, which they can still get, but now their ability to score on row 3, barring these 3 blues, but with adjacency to their 4th column, is gone. And my other priorities in this round are like kind of minimal, so Okay, let's just take the 2 blue. So we'll let them get row 3 blue if they want it. Okay, and then here, of course, we will dump the 4 blues on them so that we don't have to take them. We probably won't get the 3 reds that we want, and we are going to have to take some negatives. Okay, we do get the 3 reds that we want. So they should have taken the black first there, because I'm certainly not going to take the blues, so there's no reason for them to, yeah, good. Is there any reason to take the blues? So I would go from, instead of going -4, additional -4, I would go additional -9. And they would have to deal with these whites. Let's see. So I'm scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. -4. So I'm scoring 6 or 1. They're scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Possibly, it's a net 0, so. Maybe it makes sense to take the blues here and prevent their future scoring. For an extra -5, though, do I think those blues are going to score them 5 points overall? Maybe not. Okay, let's see if we can keep track of how many points the blues score them. So for now it's 0, +1, -1. So we'll see how many extra points the blues score them over the course of the game. Okay, and now our strategy is kind of clear. Like, we want to disrupt white, which is what they need to build a column. This is a little bit tricky because this is a good round to just take reds. I'd like to group these blacks in the middle at some point. Okay, so let's go with white row 5, because that's still, instead of row 2 white, let's go white row 5. That lets us still build with reds. And I still want to, I want my opponent to commit to row 2 blue, and then I want to group the blacks up. So I'm not going to take like this single red yet. I'll play on row 2. Okay, and now that my opponent's committed, I can group the blacks up and hopefully get them for row 4. And now a question of whether to take the whites versus the blacks. I think I still want to take the blacks and just finish my column. They'll take the whites. And let's actually play this blue. Or is there any shot at this column? I guess there's a shot. So let's not play the blue. Let's take the yellows. And we'll take these red negatives. It's not looking good for us again. So how can we win this game? We can potentially win it by building a second column. That looks hard. We're certainly going to need the first player tile if we want to do it. So let's grab that. Another threat we have is full color red. if we were to get the 4 red this round, there's 3 next round, but we're not going to get that. Okay. So we want to be spending whites next round. On row 5. Not on rows 1 or 2. So let's take 2 whites for row 2. And we will hope to grab these 2 blues. Okay. So we are maybe going to try to build a second column. But we're already quite behind, and our opponent's going to score huge this round, so I don't think it'll even matter if we get there. Not really sure what went wrong this game. I know the black tiles were quite delayed, so that was a problem. Okay, let's just go for it. Like, it took a long time for us to build row 4. Okay, so our opponent doesn't take 2 blue. So we'll obviously do that. So we can force them to take negatives for the blues. And then we can get row 3 black, and they would be done with their scoring. I don't really see a way around us taking these yellows for negatives, so let's make them pay for the blues. Oh, they take the blacks. Not worth nearly as much. They should definitely take the blues. Okay, we take the black. And yeah, this is definitely not going to be enough, especially with the negatives that I'm about to take. So, a couple rough games. Yep. This one's definitely going to hurt from an ELO perspective. Yeah, minus 19. Bunch of arena points. Okay, we're at 48 minutes. Let's just take this game and play it. Or not. Okay. 665. Okay, let's try to play well. Okay, so typically when an opponent tries to build the 4th column, I like to immediately contest blues because that's going to be what they need the most. So let's go with that plan. Okay, so not going to build the 4th column. Um, let's pivot ourselves and build the second column. And I don't need to worry about, or do I? Okay, I might need to worry about my row 2. I'm giving them the opportunity to group the blues up. But if they do, 2 black and 2 yellow will be available. Yeah, so I can safely take 2 blue for my row 3. Let's get white out of the way. I'm going to want white for row 3 since I'm building the second column, so we'll take the white instead of the yellow. Okay. Pretty interesting draw. We're going to get our black, so that's nice. We probably won't get white, but let's just stop our opponent from this super easy row 3 blue. And we'll try to load up on row 5 red. Our opponent has a lot of opportunities to play red, so we might want to be kind of aggressive there. Yeah, so let's just take 2 red, since it's kind of our opponent's ideal row 2. And we have so many options for this black, and getting the white is like almost a bonus this round anyway. I think I'm just going to take the yellow, actually. So we'll just take red to prevent row 2 red. And then grab black when we need to. Hopefully that made sense. Like they can't, yeah, so we can just grab black now and we prevent their row 2 red. And it's actually good for us if they get row 2 white, because it's one fewer place that they can play white in future rounds to block us on our row 3 white. Oh, that's very curious. So it gets to complete row 5 black, but at the expense of row 2. And has a slightly interesting decision, actually, of if they want to give me these whites or not. Okay, so I think that round went pretty well, all things considered. Okay, so obviously there's this contention for these 2 reds. If I don't finish row 5 this round, it's not the end of the world, so like I'm okay with that concession. I think, so I also have plenty of options for finishing my row 3 white. and even a chance maybe of getting row 4 white. Like if my opponent commits to row 3 blue, I could potentially get row 4 white. Row 2 yellow looks very gettable. So I'm actually going to take the 1 blue, which means that they have to pay extra for their row 3 blue since there's only groups of 2 around. Okay, so they decide to prevent me from getting row 5 red. Like I said, I'm okay with that. I do want to avoid these whites getting grouped much more though. So let's take one now. And again, if I have to pay a little extra for row 2 yellow, that's okay. They could defend it, and maybe I'll get screwed like I did 2 games ago where I didn't secure my row 2. Okay. This is kind of a cool play actually, because it opens them up to building this column with all of these blues. I am just going to grab... Okay, let's actually talk about it because I've been rushing through these videos and I've lost 2 games. So I think I can't reasonably take 2 blue here. Trading like a row 4 blue for my row 2 yellow doesn't make much sense. So we may just let them have this, and they will have 2 column threats. There's only 5 blue remaining, and I have the first player tile. So worth noting, like I don't want to leave my row 4 blocked because I want to be able to play blues there next round. Oh, but we're just going to get row 4 blue. This is a very weird play for my opponent because it just lets me guarantee a row 4 blue. And this blows up their entire strategy. Maybe that's an overstatement, but they need... I mean, there's only 5 blue left, and they need row 2 and at least one of these. So, and they could have had any of the remaining row 1s. Like they can play white, black, or yellow. So I don't see the urgency of taking that black there. Yeah, very, very odd decision. I think you have to secure, row 3 or row 4 blue, and just deal with whatever row 1 you end up with. Yes, just in super big trouble. So, yeah, everything is winning here for me. There is not too much to talk about. Like we can grab 3 black, easily get 2 red and 1 red and 1 black. So might as well take the like bonus points in a way. Yeah. Let's just overpay and get the first player tile. We might be able to screw them on blue more. There's only 2 black left, which would have been worth noting. Okay, let's just take a red. We'll pick up a black. Okay, so I think I'm gonna let them take the 2 black. That way I have less competition for black next round. I don't know what they were aiming for with the red idea. Yeah, this makes the most sense, right? Because then you leave yourself the option to score on row 3 white. I'm going to take them for point scoring next round. Okay. Playing the 2 red wouldn't have been a bad idea there. In a closer game, like this could be the difference because there's only yeah, well, I guess there's a world in which you could get both of these, but it's highly unlikely. Okay, our 2 black come for us, which is nice. And up by 23, there's literally nothing to worry about. But we'll just keep an eye on the, making sure we grab one of these blues so that our opponent doesn't get 2 columns. Yeah, I can take a white from the center just to leave our other white options open for row 4 and leave the blues ungrouped to give us an easier chance of just taking 1. And we have no negatives to worry about. We can play yellow or red on row 3. We can also play yellow on row 5. Okay. Yeah, let's just grab the white. Our opponent can force these negatives on us, but it just doesn't really make a difference right now. And they give up on the second column. So what do we want to do? Probably not give them row 2 blue. We can play this and just end up playing these yellows on row 5. Or they play the yellows, that's fine too. Okay. That game went better. Yeah, that'll be the last one. We're a little over an hour. And yeah, some maybe not the highest quality gameplay tonight, so apologies for that. I do feel like I was kind of rushing plays. But yeah, hopefully when I lose, you can learn from the mistakes. Be interesting to look at the third game. I'll have to watch it back and see what I could have done different there. Not entirely. I don't have like an intuitive sense for what went wrong. So, yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.